Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to spectate here a Pred team. Looks like they were number 5 in the prior season. Let's see what we can learn from them. Initially, they pushed and they got caught up by a rat, but they are already kill leader. And so I want to see what tactics they use to hold the end zone here and just kind of give these tips to you. I've been playing a lot more because of the break, so hopefully you're playing a lot more because of Christmas break and enjoying your time. So this team has already gotten a lot of kills. We just started spectating them. Our team was, unfortunately, we did get knocked. I stood out in the open at one point when we got thirded in the back and they rotated. And our guy was essentially ratting. But let's take a look here. I mean, this is a pretty solid squad, and it, really well put together, looking around quite a bit. Now, notice how they're taking their time as well, making sure that they have their angles clear. They're not necessarily all on top of each other, which is interesting. You would think that most people say when you play as a squad to be right on top of each other. Now, the digi is really, really important. You'll notice Bang is very, very solid here. Now, this could be their undoing here. Very, very interesting seeing a Pred squad get caught out. But occupying space is also really, really important, right? Being able to have space. They're very quick to call in the res here. And they do have digis, and they do have the ability here. So there is pros and cons here, right? Where you don't necessarily always just want to dummy face plant into your opponents, right? You want to at least make sure that you're pushing, but you also have cover, and that you have your teammates within a general vicinity. Right now, they seem like they got caught out pretty hard there, which is unfortunate, and that they were occupying space, but one of them was essentially just taking a very big 1v3. So the res is coming in, their teammate's going to come in, and this team is hiding inside the building. You remember when I said occupy space to hold the multiple angles and put pressure? They're getting the res, and yeah, they're putting an immense amount of pressure on this team here. They're going to go for an armor swap just to get the fast reset. So even if they push them, I wonder if they're going to be able to survive. Let's see how a Pred squad is able to pull this off here. So they use a Q to mitigate as much damage as possible, make it really hard for them to hit. That's actually the strength, by the way, of Horizon. Now, this is my biggest tip for those that are trying to play, a bit more casual and everything. You run into these type of squads that are playing a lot more aggressive, but it also is very strategic. They had the armor swap there. They managed to get the space. And remember, occupying space means not necessarily being all clustered up. Now, don't make the mistake like this Pred squad did by being too far out, right? You want to find a middle ground there where you're close together, but not too far out where you're not within reach. If you are all bundled up in one area, then you'll see what happened in that building there, where one person comes out one at a time, and then you're able to isolate them out because they're walking in a straight line towards you. If people have multiple angles, you're able to hold their cross dynamically. That is the true definition of what it means to be a squad. Hello, this is Dance from the Future. So what I'm going to do, I want to highlight. I was thinking about this. I was literally about to go hop in the shower, and I thought about all of you guys. So I thought about all of you guys, and I was thinking, I need to explain this more in MS Paint. Now, we have an MS Paint series, but I figured this was really important when it talks about teams fanning out. So imagine this is Olympus with a rock, right? And when I talk about teams fanning out and holding different angles and positions, we'll just pretend it's another piece of geometry and just, just kind of bear with me in some objects, right? And how it works. So let's say this is the enemy team poking out here. You have another person poking out this way, and then maybe you have a person all the way up on height, just as an example, right? Let's talk about the pros and cons of this, and this is going to be height here. But I really, really wanted to do this. I want to say, no, that was like, this has to be a little clearer. I have to explain this for you guys. Now, the thought process here, let's go and zoom in just a little bit, or zoom out, there we go, so you can see all of it, is one team can shoot from this angle and hit them here, and another one can see this angle here, and this person can see and hold their cross here. Because there's a few things. Now, what you can do to counter this play is, let's say you are the red team, is if you manage to crack this person, let's say they crack them, but then they all push over here together and say, you know what, let's all push that person. Now, the downside is that green still has a bead on this side, and this person can still shoot him above, right? So that's the way you counter it. Now, another way is if this team in red decides to just full send this side over here, right? That's the only way they counter it and how it works, realistically, because they're all stuck behind one area because one person's kind of out of the fight and they're only isolating 1v1s here while putting pressure. Now, the same thing, let's think about this again in the building, right? With all 3 people in a building. Let's say you got the 3 little circles like you saw there, right? There's not enough cover here. One person can hold this spot and this door right here, and the other person can watch that door and maybe stand in front of it, but that's kind of it. The other teams have all the ability to hold here and peek behind what was that rock, right? Let's go and imitate that rock, and then this person was, I'll just kind of bear with me for a second. Let's see here, rock, and then we'll put the other person as green, right here. Now, the other person as well can be behind the wall over here, right? We'll make that wall right there, and then there's the other wall like right there. Give or take. We'll just make a small, say, wall right here. If it'll make a wall. Let's try this again. There we go. We have the wall, right? Now, there's a few things that can happen here. Is that this person has a good line of sight here. This person can go around and peek this side, and you still have another variable of a person who can still do something and maybe peek this other side long and bait them out, right? Because let's say that this person gets a crack, right? Let's just say their line of sight that they get a massive crack on this individual, and they all fan out in the building. This person still has a cross on that opponent here, right? And that means that this person who's flanking can hop over the wall and surprise them as they come out and maybe just stand here and just peek, right? Maybe they don't have to go all the way up, but they just stand right on top of the wall and they peek, and now they have the flank. So as they barrel out one at a time, it's like, oh, there's a free kill, oh, there's a free kill, there's a free kill, right? So when you're stuck in the building, this is what it looks like and the downside of playing this. I thought this was really important to highlight why it's important to see the off angles, because they can see each other's crosses, they have visibility, they can hold for each other. Otherwise, this way, you're just coming in a straight line outside the building. Now, if you get pressured into building, it's not a bad thing to hold each other's angles, but you have to play patiently, right? You can't just go crazy and just peek this and go for the crack, because what they're going to do is they're going to start boxing you in. Now, let's say you do get cracked. Let's backtrack all this, right? Let's say pretend they all had the roof, right? Let's just put red in more of an aggressive standpoint here instead. Let's say that red, just for example purposes, one was inside, one was on the roof. Let's pretend this one's on the roof because he's outside of it. And one was maybe holding a rock out here, right? And we'll put the other rocks as well. We'll put rock here, put rock here, we'll put rock here, and then we're going to make the walls, right? We'll make these walls look like this. Now, this is a better opportunity to be in because there's some positives, but they can also work as a downside, right? So we'll talk about the plus sides and downsides of this positioning. Let's say they were all like this. The downside is green can definitely take a look and isolate and say this person's isolated, but it's up to this person to make sure they do significant damage onto green. And let's say same thing. Let's say both greens peek this side right here and they do significant damage here. If they cross up, it's up to red to then do significant damage here to slow them down. Now, what may end up happening is that the person inside the building needs to peek out and take a look around the corner. Because if they say they did enough damage, it's possible as green moved up, let's say they moved up to that one spot and now they're here, right? They could both look right here and get this person out, right? So it can go both ways. They could also scale, and let's say red managed to do significant damage, peek this side right here, and managed to do significant damage onto this person, right? That means that the person on the roof could then come around or look and then box them in and come out the window right here. But then it's up to these two individuals here to hold the angles and make sure they're putting pressure. If these two individuals right here don't put the pressure, then the squad essentially falls apart. This dynamic is really hard for randoms. And if you're communicating, this is what I'm trying to teach constantly when you're seeing the spectating series. I know this is a little longer than I anticipated, but I figure this point is so important to understand. And this dynamic is really hard to train for and for people to understand, because people get complacent, get really nervous on positioning, and they don't understand what necessarily smart squad play really is. Hopefully this is really helpful. I didn't feel like it was very clear, because when you're watching the gameplay, you see it, but I think when you see the crosses and the angles in which people can hold and look and their visibility, I think makes more sense for squad play. So now let's segue right back and we're going to see them fan out. Let's do that. Now look here how they start to fan out. Fanning out means I'm going to watch your angle here, you're going to watch my angle here. And so you have more cover for each other than you even realize. It's very interesting how occupying space is a lot more powerful in a game like Apex Legends. I want you really, all of you watching, to take that as a very important note and what that means, right? I wonder what their actual pred ranking. I mean, they clearly have ranked quite a bit if they reach number 5 in the season, so there's a pred team for you. Now, here's an interesting thing right here. They're moving up, and people get frustrated whenever pred teams move up on them like this. But again, they're not showcasing any space, and they can kind of smell the fear, right? Even if they do get a knock or they lose one, they essentially can come in and clean it up pretty quickly and efficiently. He's trusting his teammates is going to clutch it up while he fights off the other team. You'll notice that right there. And now they have a little bit of time, and they do have height, and they have the better positioning. They're fighting for positioning. If they wait on the outskirts there, right here, where my cursor is on the upper left-hand side, then they're not going to be able to have this power position that they have here now. Now, here's the downside of it. When you play a lot more risky for space that you want, you run into these high risk, I guess, essentially high rewards. But notice how they don't try to stay within the building. They try to play out, and that's what really causes the openings here. So there's 2 knocks, and now essentially they really do have to fan out. It's a high risk, high reward of what space you want to occupy, right? And you kind of smell the fear. If they're not really fanning out, they're not doing any damage. Now the downside of this, if you hold the top of that roof and that pred team does damage on you, they're going to move up on you regardless, okay? So that's really, really important to highlight here. I don't know if they have a beacon. That's probably what they're looking for right now, to see if they can find themselves a beacon quickly. But you'll notice as well, the other team didn't even push them. They pushed out. And so, wow, this team has got a lot of eliminations. We were here for a mass majority of it. Pushing and fighting for space means you want to fight for the most optimal space that is going to help your team win. Not necessarily have the zone dictate the pacing for you. Just remember to be careful what it means to dummy push versus a strategic push, okay? Those are very, very clear. I'm not going to just highlight everything they did here was good, because earlier they were too fanned out, and then they did come together and they recovered it. Now, at the same time, when they pushed together. So remember, everything you do as a team-oriented game, you got to do together. There's strength in numbers, and there's strength in occupying space. Notice how they're not necessarily just on top of each other, but they're holding various angles, right? By having these angles, it gives them the opportunity to catch somebody out, to do damage, and put pressure to the point where nobody knows, whoa, what do I peek from? What am I supposed to do? Let's see if they manage to clutch this out. I think they're facing a, is it a trio squad? No, it's a duo squad. Duo versus duo. Same comp, too. Good head glitch there. We say head glitch or cover, half cover, making sure you're behind cover, right, is really, really strong there. Now, playing with your squad is important, but notice how much more power they have here. The downside, and you'll notice that as soon as the smoke goes out, they reposition to bait them out. Now the Horizon has the ability to see if they cross out. If they cross out, they can do damage, and then the Bangalore can put pressure on them. The zone is also putting a lot of pressure right now. I can't tell if that was a little lag there. You see this? Going back and forth and baiting. We got some pretty smart teams here, really holding a lot of pressure. So, really take this note. This is what we call an aggro peak, but he also has teammate holding an angle up high. You see how the crosses are so important to dictate pressure? And a lot of, I guess you could say, lower ranking teams don't do this, where you're holding pressure and holding out for your teammate. Most people get a little afraid and they bundle up too hard together. And bundling up is important, but also within reason, right? Right now they're going to bundle up together here, but they know because the zone has to pull pressure on them, right? So there's pros and cons to everything. It's the biggest tip I can at least provide as you step away from here. But I really think that this point is so important. See how they manage. All they got to do is just wait. They wait, they win. One of them puts pressure, leaves. See if they manage to get enough there. They unfortunately don't have any grenades from the look of it. Otherwise, they would have already put pressure with a grenade. And now here's the patient part. You see how I say that Preds push everything, but they know when to slow it down and when to wait and wait for the moment? Mistakes can be made, okay? Mistakes do happen, and that is 100% okay when mistakes do happen. Oh, there it goes. Good wait timing for the ult. When people ask when should ultimates be utilized, is to create openings like this. Now they reloaded their guns. Oh, man, and that smoke because of the digital threat. It's over at that point. And this looks like it goes to that squad. GG's. Very well played. Very well played. Now, there are some mistakes, and that's okay, and no team is ever perfect. I'm not perfect. You're not perfect. A Pred team is not perfect. There's a lot of variables when it comes to playing a BR, and I find them all fascinating. All right, so let's go into another round here, and let's queue again, and we're going to start it from the very beginning and then just spectate and just kind of break down how that works in real time and what that positioning looks like, shall we? Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is the hard part. Whenever you're solo queuing, so what we're going to do a solo queue here is that it's really hard to replicate what a Pred team does. Just take a look right there, right? We're going to run into them again. I'm guaranteed, let's see if we are able to spectate them again, or if we even land near them. We'll take a look and see what happens. The downside of this is when you're playing with randoms, you're not going to have this type of synergy of everyone filling in a role. There's a lot of different roles, and we've covered them here on the channel. You got entry, you got support, you got off angle, you got anchor, you have floater, you have who's your IGL, who's your co-IGL. You know, there's a lot of different roles, and there's only 3 individuals, and these roles can be very difficult, especially if you're not necessarily an entry fragger, you don't have the right support, and vice versa. Right? Let's see if this Pred team is able to kind of put it all together, and I'm excited just to kind of spectate and kind of see how everything goes. What we're going to do is I'm going to land right on the loot on the left-hand side. Oh, this is a hot drop. Okay, well, let's see what happens. I got to grab what I can. Oh, man. Even I lost that. That sucks. I had a good jump, but the conduit heal, my gosh. This kind of goes to show the strength of the conduit heal, ladies and gentlemen, how strong it really is. Could have just reloaded my gun. It's a hot drop. These things happen. There's not much you can do in a hot drop. And there's no reason to ever get upset, right? Let's see. What did we run into? Envy squad? So 3 stacks. It's 3 stack, essentially. You're going to see a lot of conduit. Conduit is very, very powerful, especially for a squad when it comes to, you know, securing your eliminations and resetting your team as fast as possible. Because, I mean, how much effective damage did I do there? Let's take a look. 187. I mean, it was close to a knock, but the heal is definitely just, you know, made that a lot more difficult, right? Let's see if that Pred team makes it all the way to the end, and we'll spectate all the way through and give our own tips. I guess the realistic tip I can provide to all of you, especially during the holiday break when you're trying to enjoy your time, is please don't get frustrated with yourself. There's a lot of variables to this, and there's a lot of people that are 3-stack, and if you're solo, I'm gonna be honest, you're just in for a harder time. And we've done that solo queuing on stream. I've solo queued before to a high rank, and it does take a lot of time, and time is really the big equalizer here. So it doesn't mean that you're not meant to be in Masters or a higher rank. It just means that somebody else is able to put a lot more time in. Right now, we all have maybe a little bit more time because of the holidays. So I encourage you to not necessarily stress out, but don't make it your whole life. Reset. Don't make this game what it becomes a nightmare because you're stressing out every single day about getting your rank up. It'll happen. You'll get more padding the better you do in the round as well. Now, the reason why I end most of my rounds is because prior seasons I've always hit Masters, even on alt accounts, whenever I've done coaching and explanations. And so my MMR tends to be a little higher. Even if I make mistakes, it really doesn't matter. What you're looking for is a consistent through line of performance. So I want all of you guys to achieve that. Not necessarily the rank, but looking for a consistent through line, right? For some consistency. When you drop hot, if you're dropping hot with, you know, not with a full squad, it's going to be harder to coordinate. So I dropped where I believe there was guns. And if I got my knock, awesome. But I'm pretty sure things were probably going to go south anyways because we're not necessarily in voice comms trying to figure it all out, right? Let's see if my teammates already left. Yeah, they did. I was just kind of curious. So what we're going to see here now is that teams after the hot drop tend to slow it down, loot their full POI because a lot of people are near the next POIs. And this changes depending on the maps too. And you'll notice that you tend to run into the same amount of players the higher the rank you are. You'll probably already notice in the kill feed, I'm like, wait a minute, we've seen these guys from the earlier games as well. Well, if you're high ranking, that's what you're just going to run into, unfortunately, I guess you could say. So, I mean, I guess we'll say we spectated a top 5 Pred, because they were top 5. We'll do prior top 5. How about that? That makes a lot more sense. Spectated a prior top 5. Oh, man, that's brutal right there. But they're going for it. You know what's interesting is that you can be on top of these things. They're going to take that. Oh, they're running. Good use of positioning here. Risky. When they're up top. Oh, man. And they did get the conduit heal, but they are extremely low. This probably is going to be it for them. I don't know if they can necessarily recover this. Ooh, that's very, very close. You see how the conduit heal in the fight really makes a massive difference there, though? Hey, look, HisWattson's in here, and Keon. I wonder... Okay, now we got the prior top 5 Pred versus, you know, number 1 Pred. We got an interesting... This is a pro team, by the way. The other team that we're looking at. Let's see if we run into them. That's going to be interesting. So understand that a lot of frustrations can happen. You can clutch out, you can win, and there's a lot of variables, okay? Be patient. If you do find a squad or you find somebody that you vibe with in rank, don't be shy to say, hey, do you want to rank up again? It's definitely going to increase your odds in the next following rounds, but don't get upset if they don't necessarily mesh with your playstyle or something goes wrong. Everybody makes mistakes. I make mistakes. Pro teams make mistakes. Red teams make mistakes, prior Preds, arena Preds, a list goes on. It doesn't matter what rank that you do get. What matters is you're looking for a level of consistency. And people want to play with people who are, I guess, just decent people. You know, that's what makes you want to keep grinding, right? I think that's probably another tip that we can make sure to provide. I know somebody's going to laugh and say, well, doesn't that seem obvious? Well, if it was, then why do we see so many people getting frustrated? I get that the system isn't perfect. Let's go and highlight that now, is that this rank system is not perfect, ladies and gentlemen. There's still a lot of flaws, but I'm still hoping for a lot of change and a lot of positive, right? Oh, he went in there. Now, this is what we call somebody who's caught out. He's going to have to drop, but that team is definitely going to push onto them. Now, this is not necessarily a bad thing. All is not lost, because what they could do, oh, that armor swap is amazing, is that they can turn and burn at that point. So turn and burn whenever you bait somebody in. Oh my gosh, can they block that? Very nice. Is where you bait them to drop from height or wherever their better positioning was and get the jump on the opponent. Because essentially they dropped on them because they knew they had the advantage. But because they had this armor swap and they were able to reset, now you got a 2v1. Look at that. A lot of patience, a lot of patience. Now, it was all because of an initial mistake. This is what we call a floater roll. A floater roll is also can be entry, and it can be somebody who can make a mistake, essentially. But sometimes a mistake isn't the necessarily end of the world, where somebody gets cracked and then backs up, because you're essentially baiting them over to you. So if you're playing a real-time strategy game, let's say one of your units gets hurt and you back them through the front line, the bot normally runs all the way through all the mess. That's what you want a human to do, essentially, because I'm not calling humans bots. We're not bots, but we are going to go through the most logical to finish that target, and that can cause mistakes, even if you get this advantage, right? Now, time is of the essence, because they might have hesitated on the push. It can also be a high risk, but also communication on who you cracked and who you focus whenever you drop. So there are ways to recover, and there are like I can say one thing, but variables are all very, very important to understand. If you step away understanding there are variables to every situation, then you're going to come out a better ranked player, and you'll become out less frustrated. Because for some players, that could be frustrating right there, right? I'm kind of curious. I don't think I saw HisWattson die or that other top 5 pred team. So we'll see where everyone kind of nets out, right? Oh, there we go. Let's see what's going on here. They do have height. The rails can be really good cover, and they can also be bad cover, because sometimes people accidentally shoot and keep hitting the railings. They do have height. Oh man, that's unfortunate. And they're probably gonna most likely shove that. They do have an off angle right here. Oh, lots and lots of damage. Actually, that is HisWattson squad right there. They drop down, but that's pretty much it. Oh, uh-oh. Oh, very good try there. Very good try. They did do a lot of damage initially. I would say they're a bit bundled up. Why? What? How come we don't get to spectate them? How does that work? Don't we get to watch HisWattson squad? I guess not. Where were they at? Let's see here. So they're on the north side up there. Interesting. I'm sure. I mean, they're gonna run into them in a second. Let's see what they do. Oh yeah, they're on this side. My bad. So let's break down that last fight and just really break it down. They were kind of all peeking the same spot. Now the railings can help you, and if they got a crack, it could have gone both ways. Now you'll notice that HisWattson's team was definitely spread out, and they had multiple angles. And even then, if they got a drop or a knock, they're going to have to somewhat cross out in the open there. So it's a tough fight on both ends. But once a knock happened, then I mean, there you go. Let's see. I think the top 5 pred team, prior top 5 pred team, is still alive, and we know HisWattson's team is still alive. And we'll see how all of this really plays out. One thing I definitely want to tell individual players is not to stress too much about zone, and don't go into zone and just expect to always just heal. Sometimes occupying space and fighting for space, like here's an example. If I were to ask you where the power positions are in this map, then you could say Hydro here is probably a good spot. I mean, having this side over here because you can gate the teams that way. If you wanted to play up top here, that's definitely a power spot. You got to think of what's height, where's the building, where can you push, and where can you rotate from. And if you're on edge, edge is not a bad place to play either. But be aware if you're going to play edge or if you're going to play zone, which one or the other. Look at that. We'll see how this all pans out here. Don't let names in the lobby get you nervous either. Everybody's beatable. I'm beatable. HisWattson's beatable. Everyone can be beaten. Okay. It's just a matter of taking the right positioning and the right angles. And anyone this is the interesting part. If you go look at anyone's stat save died thousands of times. Okay. It's just to kind of give you a little bit more confidence. And there they go. One person gets knocked. Mistakes happen, right? I'm kind of curious how that really happened. But when mistakes happen, it's not always in your favor. At one point yesterday, or no, it was today actually, I was playing ranked and we were in a fight and I got sniped from like a mile away with a 30-30, and I would have won my fight, but somehow we didn't account for a team that was at least like 250 meters away, really, really far. I didn't even know they existed when we were at. I'll give you context. We were all the way up here and they were sniping from there, but we fought a team up here and we thought we were isolated because we were coming outside of zone. This team does have zone, but right now they're not in any power position. If they get caught out up here, they're pretty much going to get blasted. If they get caught out over here, they're pretty much going to get blasted. So they're a little late right now, and pretty much what they got to do is work their way in so they're not late. They do have zone, but they're going to have to work their way in. A lot of players at this level at least all know what they're doing, which is which is a big positive. I know it may not seem like it. I feel like one of the most important things that people say is like, well, it seems like I get really bad teammates. I'm gonna be honest, if I was a better player myself, then I would be able to carry most of these teams in position better and capitalize on these moments. I think these are all great moments of self-reflection. If I was a better player, then I would be able to just hop in a rank and just do whatever the heck I wanted at all times and carry a team to victory. Now, there is a caveat to that. Even HisWattson has said on his streams several times, hey, you know, even my win rate drops whenever I play with randoms versus a squad, which is very fair, right? So keep that as well in the back of your mind so you're not getting as frustrated or angry as well. But try to predict zones. If you can't predict zones, the best thing you can do is think about what is powerful in this zone. Like this building up top, that's a really strong spot to be in. This is a strong spot to be in. Now, if you want to play edge, maybe playing the edge and working your way could be in strong, but I think it's going to pull either to the left or right, like on this side or that side. I don't think it's going to pull this side. Just by guessing, and it's just a sheer guess. Just on seeing the zones. To see where it does pull. Like, when I'm saying these buildings right here, those buildings are one of these. I want to say it's probably going to be like right there, I'm guessing. It's a guess, but even if you're wrong, at least you know where to rotate to and where to pull to, right? See how this team does have a nice power spot, even if they got moved up on. It's a pretty strong positioning. Now, once you get towards the end zones, you can't necessarily just bully your way into spots because there's another team nearby. This is where you got to start playing more patient. Let's take a look where the zone pulled. Ah, okay. Well, yeah, I was kind of guessing kind of right. Either there or there, and then I said right there. So if I were to guess where the zone would pull, right, be like right there, I think. Pretty sure. Now this changes. This was a power spot, but now they need to fight for positioning that is better, right? Now, what teams are doing if they clear their back over here is that they're trying to make sure when the zone closes, they don't become a sandwich. So what is a sandwich? A sandwich is something that has breads on both sides and the meat, right? You don't want to be in the middle. You don't want to be the meat. You don't want to be the lettuce. You want to be the tomato. You want to be either, if you are into wheat bread, then you want to be the wheat bread on the outside, or white bread, or Hawaiian bread, or, I don't know, prosciutto, not prosciutto, that's a meat. You do not want to be the prosciutto, okay? Let's see what happens here. Oh, that's unfortunate. Conduit hits, man. Oh, man, they're getting worked up on here. Smoke for cover, good ult, but this is going to push them inside of the building, which is not necessarily what they want. They do have a conduit ult to block their space and buy themselves a little bit of time. Oh, man, the Maggie ult. Good reposition with the Q there, all as a unit. Pretty positive momentum there. But they're getting pressure in the back, and that's why teams are trying to clear your back. You always want to try to clear your back, because if the zone works your way in, then, again, you just become a sandwich. You don't want to become a sandwich, okay? It's the last thing you want on your agenda. Now all they got to do is just find that mistake. And right now, unfortunately, they're making a mistake because they're not able to occupy a whole lot of space. Oh, there it is. There it is. Let's see if they can capitalize on that. Oh, massive damage. That's actually HisWattson squad. So it looks like they're, you know, getting used to rank and also practicing best they can. But now there's knocks on both sides, and the zone is putting pressure. You see the hesitation here that's happening from the Bangalore on where they should push and what they should do? Hesitation on what gets you eliminated, essentially. There's a lot of like, do I res, do I not res, do I go to zone, do I not go to zone, do I hold here? Oh no, they're pushing on me, I need to run. A lot of hesitation. This happens when you're playing with randoms too. But just being firm and making a bold mistake is better than just kind of dancing around going left and right, because they got a great knock on them, right? Oh, that's unfortunate. That's it. Let's see what squad we're going to spectate next here. Now, if I were to try to guess what team would win this, right now it's kind of up in the air, to be honest. It's pretty tough. Oof. The team up here is going to have a hard time because they got to go past this team, and they got to go past this team. And so it's a cluster. I don't think this team is going to win, per se, because they're a duo. I think whatever team is on this side, if there is one, has the highest probability because they're going to sandwich them in. Oh, they're just going for it, huh? That's a risky play. They just going for the knock? I don't know why they just went for the knock, I'm going to be honest. Maybe go for the kill? You can win that. That's not the end of the world. Here you go. All right, now it's all in their favor at this point for them. Risky. I get why this other team is pushing up. All they got to do is try to just get healthy. Good armor swap. Get back in with a squad. And now just one more. And most of the time, if the other team hasn't pushed at this point, then they're not going to push at all. It's probably a rat. And that's going to be kind of it, ladies and gentlemen. Very interesting to kind of watch at the top end, guys, and seeing how rank plays out. I know it's very frustrating, especially because it's like I'm technically gold 1 on this alt account, and yet we ran into a prior top 5 and a professional team, right? So, I mean, we spectated a prior top 5 and professional pro team at the end of the day. So if you're watching this, this does put you in a pretty tough spot, but the only way to improve your odds, I'm gonna be very honest, is straight up by squatting up more together, being nice to other individuals online, messaging people and saying, hey, would you like to play with me? Building up your squad over time. This is a squad-based game. You got to hold multiple angles. You can't stay stacked up onto each other. You'll notice even HisWattson's team, the best thing they were able to do was just to kind of fan out, take different angles. Even if one made a mistake, you saw Madness overextended, but still his teammates were able to recover that position. So guys, hopefully you enjoyed this episode. This was a fun episode. Hopefully you found it entertaining, educational most of all, and I'll see you guys all in the next one. Bye everybody.